Whistle feels like the kind of entry-level horror we used to get consistently back in the 2000s. A curse, a group of teenagers, some over-the-top deaths, and just enough rules to keep things moving. The problem is, it's also missing a lot of scares. Are you checking this one out this week? Roll the tape. Logan star Daffne Keen plays Chris, the new kid in town with a troubled past that the movie barely bothers exploring. But she ends up falling in with a friend group consisting of Ellie, Rel, Dean, Grace, and Mason. After Mason suddenly dies in a horrific killing, Chris inherits his locker and finds an ancient Aztec whistle that when anybody blows it, if you hear it, you'll be hunted down and killed by an apparition of your own death. And honestly, that's probably the coolest thing the movie has going for it. We're gonna add a tape because it genuinely feels like 2000s level horror. This is definitely a movie you would have picked up on new release Tuesdays at Blockbuster or would have gone with a bunch of friends and catch it in the theater on a random Wednesday night. High school drama, romance, a supernatural curse, characters slowly getting picked off. This is the exact kind of tropes you would see in a studio film back in the 2000s. Let's add a tape because the death concept here is so original. This is not like Us, where it's an evil doppelganger coming from underground to take back what's rightfully theirs. This isn't Dead Ringers, where you have an evil twin who's trying to take your life. In this case, it is literally an apparition of yourself that's coming to kill you the same way that you are supposed to die. And we get some gnarly death scenes here in Whistle because of that. We see people mangled, broken, chopped up, turned into old people. And we gotta take a tape off because with a simple story, you're also gonna get simple returns. I said that this feels very much like 2000s level horror, but along with that, we gotta take the bad, which is sometimes having a simple story that feels entry level and folks are easy to follow on the plot, doesn't offer anything outside of the ordinary. But we gotta add a tape for some absolutely insane deaths. I will always call out bad CGI whenever I see it, but there are folks who are just dead set against it and only want to do practical effects, and that's not realistic for every single film that we see, and Whistle knows that, and it puts a lot of that money and that time into giving you some of the craziest deaths that you are going to see all year. Folded up like he was in a car crash, you have another character being absolutely torn apart like he was thrown into a mulcher. They do not skimp at all here on the brutality. But we also gotta take a tape away because it might be too much gore. Again, this feels so much like entry-level horror that this would be one that I would suggest to a lot of people who are looking for something to give them a quick thrill on a Friday or a Saturday night. But the problem is usually those kinds of movies that you would suggest don't go overboard with the blood and the brutality in it, and Whistle is not that at all. It is almost the main hook, the main drive of this film is that when you know another character is going to get killed off, they're going to get killed off in one of the worst ways that you've seen all year in a mainstream film. We're going to add a tape for that hay maze sequence being genuinely terrifying. There's not a lot of genuine scares here in this film outside of the random jump scares that happen, but earlier on, one of the characters, Grace, is being tracked down by an apparition of herself as an old woman. The look on the woman's face, the tactics that she uses to catch up to Grace, the staging of the shots themselves, it is genuinely creepy, and it is the best sequence in the entire film. And what stinks is that it shows promise that had they leaned into this for a lot of the other scary scenes in the film, they could have made something genuinely terrifying here. And we're gonna add one more tape for a pretty solid mid-credits scene. Now, I don't think that Whistle is going to be seeing a sequel on the big screen anytime soon, if not at all. But don't tell that to the screenwriter and your director here because they absolutely included a mid-credit scene that is very Smile 2-like, showing how this curse is going to expand well beyond this small group of friends who thought they were the only ones involved, and honestly give a good setup for a sequel to where they don't need to bring anybody at all back who is in this first film. I love a genuinely effective mid-credits, post-credits scare scene in a horror film, and this one works fantastically. You know, I mentioned recently that Passenger also felt like a throwback to 2000s horror, and again, Whistle is right in that same category. It's simple, it's bloody, easy to follow horror that doesn't require too much from the person watching outside of paying attention to the very simple rules that are there. It's not especially deep, and the gore is honestly going to be a lot for people who are coming into it as one of their first horror films, but in the old era of mid-budget horror films, this might work really well for a lot of you. I'm giving Whistle 3 tapes out of 5. And if you're looking for some 2000s feeling horror to pair up a Whistle, you can't go wrong with Smile 2, The Ring, or Final Destination 2. That's tonight's tape. Don't watch it alone.